All right, everybody, welcome back to the Abundance Formula podcast. I'm excited. This is the first time I've had a guest here in my house with me at our studio in the house. So we're sort of playing with this microphone, feeling out where to put it so it's not blocking one of us, but we can hear us both. So I'm wearing the headphones that way I can hear that we're getting picked up by the mic to just make sure. But this is Terra Little. She's one of my really great friends. She lives in my neighborhood. She's one of my personal training clients. And I thought it'd be so fun to have her on. We should call it Talks with Terra or something. Talks with Terra, because we always have such really great conversations while we're training and after we're done training and stuff like that. That I thought we need to record these conversations because they're conversations are things that happen, I think, for all of you, especially talking about fitness journey or life, but specifically around a fitness journey. Tara's one of these great clients. She's trained with me, I think, a year and a half now. So she's kind of gone from this beginning phase to where she is now. And it's an all encompassing journey where I think each of you could find yourself along the journey and the things she's had to learn and the pivots that she's made and all the changes for where she started as far as her fitness and where she is now and just kind of more perfecting her look, which is I think where we all want to get to, is where we're we've lost the amount of weight, say we wanted to lose. Now we're just fine tuning things just to perfect and have fun with it. And so I just love hearing the lessons that she's learned in our conversation. So I was we need to record one of these and let people just kind of hear about it. So I thought we could start by letting you tell them sort of where you started, how you kind of even got with me for training, what everything looked like, maybe what your past experiences with fitness programs or what you thought you had to do to get fit looked like, and kind of how we started the shift of that in the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I'm battling a little bit of a
Oh
cold,
sorry.
so just ignore my voice. Yeah. So I started, Jeana and I met in 2011, so over a decade ago, and stayed in touch just on social media. And then during a walk with our family, discovered that we lived in the same neighborhood all these years later. And so we kind of reconnected, and I was always just kind of watching Jeana on social media. And at the time, I had gone through we had both had kids around the same age, and I had gone through some really heavy postpartum depression and just kind of lost a lot of myself, and had justified a lot of it. It is very just, but had justified kind of my complacency because of my phase of life. Like, oh, I'm busy. I work a really demanding job and I have young kids, and sleep is hard, and I'm tired. So this is just not the phase of life to focus on that. It's not a priority right now. And so then kind of reconnecting with Jeana, who also had kids in similar ages and who also worked her job and then had her side jobs that she was doing, it just kind of reignited oh, I probably can do all of this. And it made me think about things differently. So instead of oh, this phase of life, it's just not feasible, it made me realize, I think in this phase of life, I need something that makes me feel like me again, or that feels like a hobby or me time again, because that will energize me versus just giving every single ounce that I have to something else and falling by the wayside. And so seeing Jeana kind of do that with her side hustles and with her fitness and her goals just made me reach out. And I was like, Jeana, I've worked out, I've been pretty active my whole life. But in this phase of my life, I think I know what I need to do, but I have no motivation. And so I kind of just need an external motivator to make me do it, because I can't do it for myself. I know what to do and I'm just simply not doing it. It's too easy to talk myself out of it. And she was like, well, I will take pictures weekly, and so that will motivate you. And so we started working together, and the pictures worked a lot, being able to see, even if I didn't feel it right away, seeing really small pivots helped. But more than that, I didn't expect to get the thing that I didn't expect that I got out of it was the mental shift of, so I'm exhausted in this phase of life. We both had 1-year-olds at the time, or maybe not even one when we started. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. It's so hard and it's so exhausting. And all I want to do after a really long, stressful work day is collapse and eat a Big Mac. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I earned it. And, but it made me instead kind of view that because I'm so exhausted and I'm so depleted from giving everything to work and my family, I I've earned this like me time and this will energize me. And so it really did. It really became something that I did not for an aesthetic goal, but more for I need more energy. And like Jeana talked me through a lot of the like science behind how exercise gives me energy at a more cellular level than just like caffeine, which is what I was relying on in those early days. So that was kind of what kickstarted all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember it was a really big mindset shift. I think a lot of you could relate in the sense of um, the getting started is always the hardest part. And you're in this phase of feeling really lethargic, feeling really tired, feeling like you've got no time and all these things. And all you want is to feel energy and feel like you've got time and efficiency and all this stuff. And it seems like the last thing to do should be to go expend physical energy and that you'd somehow get it back. But that's actually scientifically literally what happens. And so it's like if you can push through the first 2 weeks of where you're creating a habit shift and you're kind of just forcing yourself to do something new and change your system, then it all of a sudden will start to kickstart and you'll realize, oh wow, I actually have more energy than I did. And it starts to compound over time through sticking to it. And as you start changing your foods, even if it's little bit by little bit, you start realizing how much better you feel and how bad you used to feel. And so everything really starts to snowball. And I know that that's one thing that Terra experienced. The other thing, talking about food, you can kind of give an example of the kind of crash course things you had been through before as far as nutrition, but we definitely talked about that. She was not interested in like anything that's crash course. She was fine with gradual results, which is what a lot of my clients are, is like more of a lifestyle shift. And so we definitely worked through this talk of like, we're going for a more gradual change. We're still saying a late weight loss, tightening up, toning up mode, but it'll be more gradual. So it's not super aggressive. Something you can maintain with family life. You're not having to exercise 7 days a week or whatever. We made it really attainable. But then also recognize that in going a little slower, you're not going to lose 10 pounds in 4 weeks either because we are going slower. And so we kind of talked through some of those things. So maybe talk about how you had to like arrange your expectations with the timing and what effort you were willing to put out and kind of coming to a conclusion there that set you up for a good formula to succeed long term.
Yeah, that was something that like I've always been decently active and I don't know if it's just my genetics, but I've always been pretty petite. So when I've gained weight, I still have been a relatively petite person. So I didn't always have the external motivator of like, I need to lose a lot of weight. And so it was easy for me to fall into just eating junk food, even while I was working out. And Jeana and I talked a lot about like what my expectations were. And in those early days, it was energy. I wanted more energy. And so doing the workouts gave me more energy and I was not focused on my nutrition. And then once I kind of got to a point there, I was like, okay, I feel it's been whatever, 8 months or so. I feel really good. I feel it's very much a routine. It's very much not something I have to talk myself into or like pep myself up to do my workout. It's just a part of how I've incorporated it into my weeks. So now how can I challenge myself? Because it's been however long and I'd like another challenge. And then, so that's when I was like, okay, let's really look at what I'm eating and how I can shift, but also make it realistic. Because in the past, it's like, well, if you do this for 6 weeks, you'll drop this much weight and you'll be this fit. And then you can get back to eating your normal, because it's only 6 weeks. And I would have the mindset of like, oh, I can do anything for 6 weeks. This is so attainable. And I can, but then I did not build habits. So it was so easy to fall right back or to just give up because 4 weeks, 6 weeks, who cares? I did not have a habit of a lifestyle. And so I never got I was telling Jeana earlier, you know how people will say, like, once you've really made the shift and you eat to like fuel your body, then the other stuff is not as tempting. And I've always thought that was baloney because I'm always tempted by junk food. But I'm starting to understand that piece of it now because it's just become kind of something that I've become accustomed to. And because it was not a crash 6 week, do this, don't eat any sugar for 6 weeks kind of thing. It's like, I still have cinnamon rolls on Saturdays with my family. That's like what we do on Saturday mornings. And I look forward to it and I enjoy every bit of it. And so I have, oatmeal and a protein bar or oatmeal and an egg scramble the other days. And I know I have something to look forward to. So I don't feel deprived at all. So I don't feel like there's something that is missing or that like if I can just get to this light at the end of the tunnel, then I'll have what I want to have and life will be fun again. It just very much feels like every single week I have cinnamon rolls in my family or we have a pizza night with movies, but it's just every now and again, and I've prepared really well and I look forward to it, and it's not on my mind any other day of the week. Um, but because of that, it's kind of just, it took me shifting my expectations and knowing like, if I'm going to eat like this, my results will be this. And that's okay because my goal in the early days was more energy. Then, okay, Jeana, I feel really good and like comfortable with this pace and this program. So now to see the results aesthetically, physically that I want to see, how can I shift this? And then again with Jeana, I could say, and I've got young kids and a really demanding job. I need it to be like quick. I need it to be simple. I need it to be not me cooking an entirely separate meal for myself or spending 4 hours meal prepping every Sunday. Like that just wasn't realistic for my phase of life. And so we were able to look at what I'm already eating and how I can get things similar but make better choices, and like what macros help, not that I'm necessarily down to the counting macro level, but just like knowing what I need based on the workout plan. And Jeana's also reined me in on, because it's my default to want to do some kind of crash course and like really bust butt. Jeana in the early days reined me in when I was like, I'm going to do cardio for an hour, 5 days a week. She was like, you might for 3 weeks and then you'll burn out. You need to make it something more attainable for your lifestyle, not for a short period of time while you're motivated. And so she told me like, go for a walk in our very hilly neighborhood 3 days a week and see how that feels. And if that's something you can commit to, add a day, sure. But if you start off with a goal like that and you don't meet it, you're going to beat yourself up, and that might not be attainable for your lifestyle, and it's not necessary to get you to where you want to be. And that shift really made it more of a lifestyle than a crash course.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I do. Another excuse I'd made that I think a lot of us make is, I don't have like time and energy in this phase of life to meal prep and to think about everything and to like adjust meals. And like I said, have my own separate meals, every meal that my family has something different. So instead, I just made it really simple. And like, for example, if my family's having spaghetti, which is like not necessarily super nutritious and what I need for the amount of protein I need for my meal, then I'll have a big, weighed out serving of my like turkey meat, ground turkey, and then the different kind of sauce, that I know that works for me. And then, half a cup of noodles instead of a full plate of noodles. Like, and so I've just been able to make very minor shifts because I have different goals than my kids. I have a different metabolism than my 4-year-old
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And so I've found ways to make it very simple. Like I'll spend 10 minutes in the evening, even if I'm completely exhausted, like 10 minutes putting my nuts, how many nuts I'm going to have for my first snack tomorrow. And then, kind of looking through my plan. Okay, for breakfast, I'm going to need these types of nutrients. So let's make sure I've got this set out. And then for my snack, I'll probably take this protein bar for after lunch, and just literally 10 minutes. What I had told myself, if I don't have 4 hours twice a week to meal prep for the week, then forget it. When in reality, it's like 8 or 10 minutes in the evening throwing something in a lunchbox for tomorrow. Or I've also texted Jeana in the middle of the workday and been like, I forgot my lunch. Here's what I got. Here are my options at work. What can I do to make this happen? Or
Mm-hmm.
Jeana's given me a lot of fast food. Like if you just have to have fast food, here are some options at these certain places that are delicious and are still going to get you, not ruin your goals.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think it's a big mindset shift for people to first recognize and say, okay, if you aren't where you want to be at the moment, then something's going to have to change to get you where you want to go. And it doesn't have to be this catastrophic change out of the gate. Like even these small compounded changes over time get you the big, massive results. And a lot of times the thing you can do consistently is what will win, because again, you can go hard for 3 weeks on workouts, on diet, all the things. But if you can't keep it up, 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off is going to move you along slower than staying really consistent to say do 30 minutes of cardio 3 different days a week, get 30 minutes of 3 different lift sessions a week, and just starting to pay attention to your portion sizes when you're eating, making sure you're getting enough protein and, like a well-rounded meal, not just a ton of one single macronutrient, whether it's just only protein or just only carbs or just only fats, like getting a little bit of everything, and just being a little more intentional. It's like if you want something, you have to change some things to get it if you're not where you want to be. And you just have to get a little more intentional. And sometimes people will be like, oh, that's work. It is work to change the habits, but isn't your increased self-confidence worth it? And that becomes a conversation that we end up having a lot of times, is like we put ourselves on the back burner, especially as moms or parents or whatever. And you have to remind yourself, like, you are important. Like the issue isn't can you do it? You can do it. It's just, do you believe you deserve the time for it? And it doesn't take a lot of time, but you have to make yourself important enough and decide that you're worth that and that it's okay. And that in the long haul, like, you feeling better, even if it's aesthetically. That's one thing that we had talked about, is like you kind of felt bad to even pursue a fitness journey because you felt like in the beginning it was kind of aesthetic focused. And I kind of had to tell Tara, I was like, that's not necessarily bad in the sense of it's only bad if you're chasing what someone else thinks is beautiful. But if whatever makes you feel strong, you feel confident, you feel empowered, you need to do that, because that's going to reflect positively in every other aspect of your life. Yeah. It's only bad if you're chasing somebody else's, if you're changing, number one, perfection, because that doesn't exist. But we're not talking about perfection. We're talking about, how do you want to look? How do you want to feel? How do you want to show up in your energy and be able to energetically show up with your kids, all those things. And that does matter, because people will guilt you for saying, you're just doing it for looks, you're just doing it for aesthetics. And it's like, no, because aesthetics is actually less surface than it may seem. It actually is intrinsic to everything else you do and how you show up at work, how you show up for your family, everything else. It's just those key switches. Like I said, you're not chasing perfectionism and you're not chasing somebody else's what version of success is for you. What does success in your fitness look like for you? And then it's not bad to want to have that, because that's going to make you show up better in the rest of your life. And so I know at first she was like, I just shouldn't even pursue it because I'm okay. I'm not like fat how I am, but I would like to be more toned and I would feel better about myself being that. But that's probably wrong, because that's just trying to be too perfect. It's like you're not. Vain. Yeah, right. Or vain. Vanity. Right. And I was like, no, it's like, you want to feel how you want to feel so you can show up the best in life and be able to then serve people better. That's not a bad thing. Yeah. It's bad if you become over perfectionistic. Again, like with my clients, I don't like to calorie count or to macro count. Like, I kind of do it on my end, estimating for them, and kind of then give them a chart to follow and kind of plug and chug. But to just try to make sure they're getting enough, because that's another thing I know we've talked about, is people are like, well, they're afraid of the nutrition talk. So like, I'm going to have cravings. And I know you know, people have cravings in the beginning. And we also talked about things like the way you stave cravings is making sure you're actually getting enough food in at the beginning of the day. So like this chart, so many people are not getting enough, whether it's of a specific macronutrient or of total food in general. And so when you start paying attention to your food, not in a sense of, oh, I have to weigh everything, not like that, but just like, oh, I totally didn't have any like, so many people don't get enough carbs in. They're thinking, oh, we got to cut all the carbs. They've already cut the carbs. And I'm like, where are your carbs? Like, no wonder you don't have energy. No wonder you're foul. No wonder you're craving chocolate, because your body is literally starving. It's like, I need the fast action carbs, fats, all the junk, because it's fast acting. So usually if you're craving that stuff frequently in your day or towards the end of your day, it's because you're lagging in a different macro. And so your body actually does want energy, and it wants the fast kind, which typically is the junk kind, because it just is simple sugars and things that come quick. And so when you actually pay attention to your food and get enough in and eat enough, the cravings will be less, like she's saying. And that's one thing she was like not thinking was real. Yeah. But it really is real. And so then you actually don't get triggered as easily. Yeah. And so it's really surprising when you stick to a new meal plan, what happens with that.
Yeah. And so as a client of Oldham Strong, you can kind of have access for all the questions. And so I have blown Jeana up with like, Jeana, I don't know how else to say this, but all I want is a pint of ice cream. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I want it. I can fight it off, but it's all I think about. Like, how do I get past this? And her first question back, the first time I said that, was, how much protein did you have in your meals? Like, did you have the amount of protein I put in your chart? And I was like, no. Or I would subconsciously, and I really tried not to consciously do this, but my subconscious would be like, well, if I'm gonna crave like a bag of popcorn at night while I'm watching Netflix after I put the kids to bed, then instead I should not have very many carbs at lunch and dinner so that I have room in my day to squeeze in my carbs at 11 o'clock at night because I know that craving will come. And instead, I told Jeana that one day, and she was like, or you have the appropriate amount of carbs, your body feels fueled by it, and your body does not crave it because it is fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, of course, there's the mental shift because I also remember going to Jeana once and saying, like, okay, I understand it scientifically, but also, like, toddler parents, you probably know, like putting my children to bed is like wrestling an alligator sometimes. And I feel like I need a quick like dopamine hit after that, like something to feel good after. And like just a quick little like pint of ice cream will do the trick and like make me feel better because that has been so mentally exhausting after a long day. And I was like, it's psychological. I like it feels like a true addiction. Like I'm getting the dopamine hit of like pulling the jackpot thing. Like it feels like an addiction because that is how I've managed that for, however many years. And so she kind of walked me through a plan of like, and this is not even necessarily a nutrition tip, but it was a plan of like, okay, then you need to know that you're going to feel that and crave that and find a way to give your body that like dopamine hit that it's needing without wrecking your goals and your plans. And frankly, your body does not need a pint of ice cream. Your body needs something to make you feel good. So plan a mask that you look forward to or like plan a bath. And so I did. I would start lighting candles and like turning the lights down and like listening to an audiobook or like something that still kind of filled my cup back up and gave me the dopamine hit I was seeking without like ruining everything because I could have a really decent, good nutrition day and then feel like, oh, there goes 800 calories because I just had a pint of ice cream and it's ruined. So why am I still doing this? And going back to what you were saying earlier, the shift I had to make from like it's so vain of me to have these aesthetic goals. Like there's so many other more important priorities than like having a six pack in this phase of my life. I struggled with that. And what it came down to was the confidence, not in having a six pack, but the confidence in setting a plan for myself and sticking to it made me feel really proud and kind of empowered, like even at work, which my work has nothing to do with any of this, but it made me feel really empowered. Like if I set a goal, I am not the type of person that's going to miss it because I can see myself setting a goal and hitting it and working towards something. And so it gave me this like confidence in trusting myself. So it was very psychological. It was very like not just aesthetic,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to kind of push through that and like talk through that a lot to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where I love like fitness journeys in general because all the life lessons you learn on a fitness journey cross over into everything else in life. And a lot of times when it comes down to our base self, like for fitness, because a lot of that's tied to people's confidence and like internal, issues or whatever blocks. And so when you get down to the nitty gritty of those things, like learning to stick to something was less about the fitness side of it, but learning to keep promises to yourself. And that's extremely important to develop that skill for every aspect of life. Like to say you're going to do something for you or if it's somebody else and you do it. And the way you get good at keeping promises to yourself is starting small and learning to trust yourself is to start small so that you can fulfill the thing. Like we even said with the cardio. Okay, cool. If you work up to 6 days a week, that's fine. Cause some people do that and they love that. And like that activity is their release. That's their dopamine hit. And that's totally fine. If it's not where you're starting though, let's start with 2 to 3, so you can learn to keep promises to yourself so that you can accomplish that and check that off and say, I can do this. Instead, when you fill your plate too full with all the layers to get in all at once, you're not going to hit some of them. And then you're going to think you can't do this because you've not gained experience in keeping promises to yourself. So you don't trust yourself in the plan that we've set out and then it crosses over into everything else. So it's like make smaller micro wins attainable so that you can achieve them and trust yourself more to make even bigger decisions because you've got experience now with doing so. And that's really huge, especially with food and the workouts and that kind of stuff. But then it crosses over into everything else as you trust yourself more with like stretch that you want to make, or
Yeah.
the raise that you want to get, or the thing, and you get better at making these more critical decisions because you've gained confidence in your decision making capacity and in your own judgment, and that kind of stuff is super valuable. And a lot of that does start in a fitness journey aspect, because a lot of those internal things come out when you're working through a process like that. And I forget, we had talked about one thing that you'd said, like at work, maybe it was just about like, when they bring, junk food in at work and stuff.
Yep.
And it was like, through making these smaller decisions, like even if you're used to going to McDonald's 4 days a week, and so we're like, okay, from 4, drop it to 3, and you get good at checking that off. And then from 3, we eventually drop it to 2, and you've done that. Now you're so armed with the capacity to know, like, you can trust yourself to drive by McDonald's. You can also trust yourself to not need the cupcakes that were brought to work, because again, you have a free day every week, or even if it's 2, however everybody's plan is structured, to keep them sticking to it. It's like, you don't have to be in a lack mentality. Like, I can get cupcakes, but I'm going to be strategic in when I have cupcakes, so I can have both. I can have cupcakes and I can also hit my goals.
Yeah, and that was something that I remember feeling really proud of in those early days, because it's not that I saw the cupcakes, wanted the cupcakes, and chose not to have them, because I feel like that's not even as impressive. It was more that I was just very confident in, like, oh, I'm going to have cupcakes this weekend at a baby shower because that's when I have planned for my free day. And so, oh, I can't wait to have cupcakes, but I'm not tempted by these because I have a plan for how I'm going to indulge in that. And so, and then I remember one time in my early days of this journey, we had pizza brought to work, and I'm like, my past self would have been like, oh, free lunch, cool. And it was not a planned day for me to have splurged. And so I told myself, again, because I was doing the baby steps of like building trust in myself. I was not trying to go all in those early days. I was just trying to build trust with myself. And so I told myself I'm going to have my scheduled snack, which was a protein shake and my nuts that I had pre-packed. And if I have that, and this was like not lunchtime, it was like 10:45, getting geared up for it. If I have that, and I'm still just really wanting a slice of pizza, I'll have a slice of pizza, versus had I done this without the mindfulness, I would have had 4 slices of pizza. And so I just remember being like, that was impressive, because that was a shift mentally for me. And then the same thing with the cupcakes, like, would I rather have a cupcake right now at 2 p.m., or would I rather have like cinnamon rolls on Saturday morning watching cartoons with my kids? And because I get to choose, and no one is telling me I can't have cupcakes, but it just made me feel really confident in my decision. Like, I'm just not fazed, because I feel way more energized, and I know how I'm going to feel after I have that cupcake, and what kind of like the rest of the workday will feel like, versus if I just stick with what I have pre-planned and then enjoy my cupcakes with my kids, versus having to sit there on Saturday morning while the whole family's having cupcakes and be like, sorry, I have my egg scramble because I messed up earlier in the week. It just made me very confident in my choices, and it kind of took the temptation out because I was fulfilled.
And when you enjoy things, you want to actually enjoy them, because
Yeah.
whenever people are just making a short-term gratification decision, nobody feels good about it. Like,
Yeah.
no matter what the decision is, no matter if it's food related or whatever else, like, you don't feel good about it. You feel bad literally while you're eating the thing or doing the action, and you're not happy about it, and you're not proud of yourself after, and the whole rest of the day tends to suck. So it's like, if you're gonna you can still have fun food, but if you do it with like a plan, then you can actually have the thing and relish in it and enjoy it, have it with your friends at the whatever the thing, whatever, or your family, whatever the thing is. Like, you can actually sit there and enjoy it, even, the whole day of fun things you decide to eat, because it was something you had planned, established. You did awesome during the week. Again, even if sometimes, like I said, people have more free days in a week, depending on what they need to make their baby steps. So again, when it's still the day they intended to do it, then they can enjoy it. It's part of the plan. It's considered a success, not a fail, right? So we just plan it, stick to it. And again, it doesn't always have to be a certain day. Like, I work with my clients, like, you get these days and you look ahead in your calendar, when the bridal shower is coming, or the birthday party, or the Thanksgiving thing, or whatnot. And so then you just plan ahead for that, so you can really enjoy that thing, not skip it, but enjoy it, and not just then beat yourself up and not get your goals and all the things downhill. When you can really have it all, you just have to get a little extra intentional, shift a few habits, build some skill sets, with time, and you can really have all the things. I know that's just some of the main things that we've talked about. Was there any other the things that we just like chatted about over the last several sessions? We're like, oh, we should be recording these things.
Yeah, we need to start.
I know the aesthetics was a big one that I wanted to bring up because so
Yeah.
many people I think feel that like, oh, this is a selfish desire,
Mhm.
but it's really deeper than that and spreads into anything else they're going to do, and it's a big impact.
One other thing that I had to recognize about myself, and I don't even know how much we've talked about this, was and I think a lot more of us than would like to admit, I'm just not self-motivated. Like if there is nothing I'm working towards, and I know that this is like not a great quality, I guess, but like if the only goal I have is like, I feel silly saying it, long-term health, it's just, there's nothing, there's no like reward along the way. I don't know, like it didn't motivate me to just like my husband is one of those people who like because he wants to live to 100 and be very, I forget what he calls it, but like he wants to just live a very long and healthy life. So eating healthy for him is like the only thing that crosses it. It's the only thing that he would even consider. He's not even tempted. He never has been. It's just innate in him and it's not in me. And so I was like, I need a short-term goal to work towards, like a monthly progress photo. I know I have this coming up, so it kind of helped me. And so I just started to like stop fighting that about myself and I said, okay, if I feel like I need those more short-term wins as opposed to the like live to 90 win, which is an awesome win, but it was not enough in the short moments to like skip the cupcake when it wasn't the cupcake time.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough for me to like motivate myself in those ways. So I needed something external, which is what brought me to Jeana in the first place. But then I scheduled myself a photo shoot where I wanted to feel really confident because for absolutely no reason other than like something to work towards, something to keep in the back of my mind to like filter my decisions through. And I'll probably do that periodically for ever because it's just the way that I feel motivated to reach the really long term. Like I want to have energy. We were just talking about this, like having energy for my kids. I remember in those like early postpartum depression periods of just like existing and not engaging and like missing out because I just had no energy. And so then I would tell myself, like, I'm going to get up and do a 30-minute workout, like 30 minutes that is very brief out of the whole day. I'm going to do 30 minutes or 20 minutes of something to give myself the energy and then see how I feel. And then just engage with my kids or like I had the stamina to like go for longer walks with the kids when the weather's nice or like teach my daughter how to do cartwheels and ride her bike. Like just little fun things like that I have energy for. That's what started to motivate me. And then I was like, okay, I need something else. So I started setting myself those like smaller goals so that I know that that's just what I need. I know that's just how I work. So like kind of just leaning into what feels natural to me instead of fighting it and saying like, no, but I should want to do this for like long-term health. Yeah, I should. But if it's not working, then I'm going to build some things in to like give me the win that I need to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I know like it just everybody can figure out what their thing is. And then to also just know that obviously we don't function off motivation because you'll never be motivated most of the time. You're doing it because it's a standard for you and not just a goal anymore. I know I've talked about that before on this podcast, like the difference between shifting your goals from being a goal and a standard, like, your job description. Those aren't goals like try to accomplish these at the end of the day. It's like, no, this is your role. These are standards for you to perform or you're fired.
Yeah.
So it's like shifting the goals that you have for yourself to be that level of importance. You're going to get those ones done as opposed to ones that are a little more flexible. Like, well, this is a goal.
It'd be nice.
But
And I did, based on that idea of standards as opposed to motivation, I'm just not a morning gal. I just despise a morning workout. I've done them when I have to, like when my schedule just is not going to work. And I know how exhausted I am after the workday. So a lunch break workout is what it is for me. And so I've marked off, although I may only do 30 minutes, I've marked off like a 90-minute period on my calendar that if the first half hour gets blocked, then I've still got this time and it gives me time to change, work out, refresh, get back. And I do that on my lunch break because I have a flexible job that I can like eat while I'm on my next call or, whatever. So I'm not missing my lunch for it. But I found a way that it works, and it is scheduled into my work calendar. It's scheduled into my personal calendar, and it does not feel optional. It just feels like, okay, at 11 o'clock, I have this conference call, and at 12:15, I have this workout. Like, it's just something that I genuinely don't think about. It's just muscle memory
right
on those days.
It's part of your job description, and that's what we have to learn to value. Is like, it's part of your job description, it's part of your life prescription, it's part of your mom prescription. Like, it should be, because you're going to show up so much better and perform so much better at that level doing that as part of your day-to-day than you will otherwise. And I think the last thing, just to kind of close out, that she and I talked about even today, was that, like, sometimes, when you're shifting to something new, you just have to commit to doing it and trusting the process. For the 8 weeks, especially, it takes a good 8 weeks to sometimes feel a decent shift. Like the first 4 weeks, definitely the cellular level stuff, you feel very quickly. When you're kind of smaller, like Terra was, not like super overweight or anything, like weight doesn't drop as fast. It takes a little bit longer. But so really commit to something and stay true to it for the 8 weeks. And then, of course, but it will become so much more natural, because what will happen is you'll finally stretch out of this phase where we all get so used to functioning, feeling awful, and you just don't know it. It's like that frog, getting warmed up into boiling water. It's happened so slowly and so gradually that we feel so yuck. And we just think it's normal. It's our new normal. And so many times people quit something because it's initially hard, it's uncomfortable because it's new. And so many people would rather sit in familiar pain than potentially a better future that's uncomfortable for a while. So just know, like, if it doesn't, like, if you're not happy where you are, then let yourself be uncomfortable for it. Get out of the familiar pain to a less familiar future, and it's uncomfortable. But I promise, as soon as you stretch out of it far enough, you'll finally feel good enough to, like, say you have that free day. We were talking about, like, when you have that free day and you've eaten really well and your body has gotten used to functioning on efficient food that digests well and actually provides the energy you're wanting. When you have that free day, you really feel how that food doesn't digest. Like, you really see what happens in your body when you have those things, the pizza or whatever, it doesn't digest as smoothly. You feel your energy drop. You get a little bit of a sugar headache or what you get those things. You're still glad you had your free day or whatnot, but you're like, like, you don't want that to be your norm. And that was your functioning norm. And you just can't believe, after you've given it enough time, you'll look back and be like, I can't believe that I used to live that day to day and thought it was fine. Like, when you finally have gotten yourself out of the hole, you realize how you did feel. It wasn't normal. It was abnormal. Now you feel really good. And so those free days are just more to have fun, and have family time or whatever. But, like, you don't actually desire to stay there 24/7. So then you can easily bypass the McDonald's or the cupcakes at lunch, because you're like, this isn't how I even want genuinely my day-to-day to be, because now what it feels like to feel good. So, like, just know that's on the other side. Tara's a testament to that. I have tons of clients that are testaments to that. Anybody's a testament to that. But sometimes you just have to plow through that first 4 to 8 weeks to get yourself from that A point that's terrible, but you just don't know how bad it is until you get out and actually feel what it feels like to feel better, let alone the confidence that comes with that. You don't desire to go back to a place where you didn't feel even as self-confident, but you'll really feel different and you won't even want to go back. And then you can just go up from there, which is where Tara kind of is, just wanting to perfect little things. Oh, I'd love to have this little extra tone or whatever your thing is, get back to a certain hobby or whatever. But it will all come. So thanks so much, Tara, for coming on today. These are just fun conversations we have that I just think are so relatable, and that especially through this holiday season coming up and, New Year's coming around, everybody's going to be on, having this whole fitness thing on their radar. I just wanted you guys to be able to be encouraged maybe by some piece of, like, what she's experienced from the start to where she is now, and to just know that you can do it. You're not abnormal for having these feelings. It's a very normal struggle, and maybe it can give you a peek into that there's another way to do this thing. It doesn't have to be some crash course thing, an all or nothing thing. It can be in baby steps, 1% better every day, 7% better every week, etc. And that's way better than going hard, stop, start, like, just gradually add a little bit more and let these habits build, and it's going to cascade into results. And I think I did a post the other day on just showing, like, my postpartum for my second child to where I am now was like a 2-year photo difference. And it was very gradual and, lifestyle attainable and all this stuff. And it's like, obviously I would have loved to have been that fit within 8 weeks or, 3 months, 5 months, 8 months after that, postpartum. But still, if you could know that you had, like, you will get to this place if you'll stick to it. If we'd let go of our time constraint around it, you wouldn't say no to the result anyways.
Right.
You know, like I wouldn't say no to being a millionaire, even if it was like, hey, well, it won't happen this year, but it may happen in 5. I'm not going to say no to that. It may happen in 10. I still wouldn't say no to that, even if someone's like 20. Like you wouldn't say no to the thing if you actually believed you could have it. So that's the key, is just shifting that you can believe you can have it. You can get it if you're willing to make the daily changes that align with that goal. And when you do that, you will have the thing. So just commit to, you do have to make changes. If what's working right now isn't working, you do have to change some things, but change them just gradually, day by day, and build a little bit month by month. And if you stick to that, then you will get there. So you can do this.
Yeah.
Thanks, you
for having
guys.
me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It was kind of a spur of the moment. I'm glad she hopped on. We literally just worked out and then came on. So, but y'all have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.